Okay, welcome back to All Day Live on this Friday afternoon. Yesterday, we brought you the news of the U.S. Senate vote, 50-49, to open up 225,000 acres of land near the boundary waters to copper mining. Obviously, this has been in the news for a number of years. It will continue to be in the news. And Chris Knopf, the executive director of Friends of the Boundary Waters, who yesterday said their legal team will be looking at all sorts of challenges to this decision, joins us now to discuss this more. Thanks for being with us today.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
This is a vote yesterday that had been coming for a while when it was first voted on in the House back in January. I can't imagine that you were entirely surprised at the outcome of this yesterday. I would imagine that you were prepared for the outcome that we got.
Absolutely. It was a close vote. And so what this legislation does, as you mentioned, it opens up 225,000 acres of public lands right next to the boundary waters to copper nickel sulfide mining. And there are still permits that need to be held in order to actually do the mining. But this is sort of the first step to opening it up. It's primarily to benefit a Chilean mining company, Antofagasta, that has a subsidiary called Twin Metals that wants to mine right at the edge of the boundary waters there. Yeah. And the concern with this is that the water flows into the boundary waters, and that this is a different type of mining. And as part of this different type of mining, you get sulfuric acid, and that sulfuric acid would get into the water and flow into the boundary waters, and it would be detrimental to wildlife. It would kill wild rice, and it releases mercury into the water. So that's what happened yesterday.
Yeah, and your group and others, you say that this is pollution that is nearly impossible to contain. Twin Metals has said through, their public information campaign here is that they are going to be doing responsible mining completely underground. Half of the tailings stored underground. They're using dry stack storing, precision targeting. They're not discharging processed water. Water's going to be reused on the site. This is what they're saying that they're doing to ensure that there's no pollution. So what issue do you take with what they're saying that they plan to do?
Sure. A couple things. First, this type of mining has a perfect track record of pollution. And so there is not a mine out there of this type that hasn't polluted. And when you're this close to water, you're absolutely going to get pollution. And what they're going to do, to be clear, is that right at the confluence of the South Cowish River and Birch Lake, they're going to create a mountain of waste. And that mountain of waste will be there forever. And after this mine closes, after 20 years or wherever, they're going to have to, Minnesota taxpayers will have to deal with the risk of that mountain of waste collapsing, and that we know that it rains and snows up in Minnesota. With all that water hitting that mountain of waste, it's going to run off into the Birch Lake and the South Cowish River. So this is simply not a technology that has succeeded in the past, and it will fail here and pollute the boundary waters.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying that the technology has advanced and it allows them to really target this. Obviously, you take issue with that. Is there anything more that they could do that you would consider this safe mining? Is there anything here, or do you just think that do you believe that that's just not possible?
Yeah, there are some things that are just not possible, and this is one of those. And what we would have to do with this mine, we'd have to be comfortable with the idea that we will have pollution of the boundary waters, and that would be the choice that we would make as a state and as a country. But it was just simply a fantasy to say that this won't pollute, because it will pollute, and so that would be the trade-off for that we would have to make to have this copper nickel that would be mined by a Chilean company and sent to China. That it would be worth it to send the ore to China on behalf of a Chilean mining company and leave the pollution here in Minnesota. So that's the trade-off. That is the choice that we have to make, but it will pollute.
Well, as you continue to fight this, in the months and certainly years to come, you think something as powerful as a House vote and now a Senate vote is a pretty tough hill to climb to work against. I mean, what do you plan to do?
Sure. what needs to be done is just as we've seen in recent months here, Minnesotans need to stand up for Minnesota and the boundary waters here. That we have the ability here at the state level to stand up to an overreaching and irresponsible federal government. So right now, this project involves lots of involves state leases, state mineral leases, as well as federal mineral leases to make happen. And right now, this year, Governor Walz has the power to cancel one of Twin Metals' state mineral leases. And so this is an obvious first step that Governor Walz should take right now. So the way the lease is written is that our state can cancel that lease this year. And so that is the first step that needs to be taken, cancel that state mineral lease. And the second thing we need to do is pass laws at the state level that protect the boundary waters permanently. And we can do this. But there has not been a hearing on the threats from copper nickel sulfide mining at the Minnesota legislature since 2009. And so that is civic malpractice. We need to have hearings at the Minnesota legislature and pass state legislation that can protect the boundary waters.
So in the big picture here, despite what happened yesterday in the U.S. Senate, how long do you think this process will continue to play out? If Twin Metals is ultimately allowed to go ahead with this plan or not, how long before we even get to that point where it's go, no go?
Sure, we are talking, years and years here. So they right now, it is now open up for potential copper nickel sulfide mining. The Twin Metals, owned by Antofagasta, would have to get state mineral lease or we have to get those federal mineral leases combined with the state mineral leases, and then go through the full permitting process and environmental review process. So that's a multi-year process that would entail, and it would be a waste. We have had multi-year scientific studies that have shown that this type of mining would pollute at this location here, and we would be much better off, instead of wasting the time and resources to put something that would pollute the boundary waters here, to direct the resources where we can expand our economy in ways that's sustainable. So this project would permanently damage the outdoor recreation economy of the region there. And we need to have broader economic expansion in Northeast Minnesota and throughout the state. And we'd be much better off looking at ways to invest in small businesses in the region, as opposed to effectively giving a handout to this Chilean mining conglomerate.
Okay. Well, it sounds like, again, this is something that we'll be talking about for quite a long time to come before it either becomes a reality or not. So
yeah, absolutely, and there are ways in which the public can express their voice. We will have a rally at the Minnesota State Capitol this upcoming Tuesday, April 22nd at 10 a.m. So please join us at Friends of the Boundary Waters and other organizations at the Minnesota State Capitol next Tuesday, which is Earth Day, April 22nd at 10 in the morning for an important rally to advocate for clean water for the boundary waters and for our entire state.
All right, a fitting day to do that. Thank you so much for taking some time with us today to discuss this more. And again, this is something we'll be talking about for a while. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Chris Knopf.